Welcome to the Communities of Character podcast, the show that shares rich conversation about character development across different vocations and callings. I'm Jennifer Hogan, and today we're continuing our series on the 11 Principles Framework from Character.org. Today's guest has been an English teacher, an IB coordinator, and high school principal, and she's currently an assistant principal at Brookwood Middle School in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where she is the lead for character initiatives and led the team to help them earn the school's State School of Character recognition. I'm excited for you to hear from Susan Gossett as she shares how her school has created a caring community of school stakeholders. Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Communities of Character podcast, a place where you can learn about all things character. I'm your host, Jennifer Hogan, and today you will get to hear from a passionate educator from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Susan Gossett. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you today.
Well, we're glad you're here with us. And for listeners who may not be familiar with you, please share a bit about your current context.
So I am the assistant principal at Brookwood Middle School in Tuscaloosa County, Alabama.
Awesome.
And I have the opportunity to work with the Character Initiative and with our A+ College Ready School program as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for everybody to hear from you today. We're going to focus on Principle 4 of the 11 Principles Framework from Character.org, and just thrilled to hear from you and about the great things that are happening in your school. And your school was one of 3 schools in Alabama that were named as a State School of Character by Character.org in 2021. So could you share, what was that feeling when you got the news that your school had received this award?
We were so excited. I think I literally jumped up and down in the hallway, and we were just so thrilled because our teachers had worked so hard through the pandemic to make this happen.
Yeah.
And had worked so hard on making sure that our students were showing character and were doing the things that they needed to, even though we were facing adversity with the challenges that we faced during the pandemic.
Yeah, well, we are so proud of your students and your staff and their commitment to character at your school. Could you share a little bit about how you got involved in character education?
So it's something that I've always been interested in, but about 5 years ago, we got an invitation to join Hope Institute through Samford University. And so that kind of helped us catapult this idea. And we sat down and we developed our list of our core values from there. And we've been growing it ever since. And we were really headed in the right direction. And then the pandemic hit and kind of threw us back a little bit. And we are back on track now and ready to move forward.
Awesome. Well, to be recognized as the State School of Character, you have to have a comprehensive approach to character development at your school. Would you describe some key components of your character education initiative at Brookwood Middle School?
So we integrate 5 core values into everything that we do at Brookwood Middle School. We focus on participation, responsibility, integrity, dedication, and effort. And those 5 core values tie back to the 6 pillars of character. Some of the things that we do is it's integrated into every classroom. Our classroom processes and rules are set up on the 5 core values. We also do something a little bit different. A lot of the times you hear students getting written up for doing something bad, but we also work in reverse and we do pride ups where it's set up exactly like a discipline referral, except it's a character referral. And so students who have participated, we've got the different character traits that fall under participation there lined out for them, and the teachers can mark those off, or responsibility, integrity, dedication, and effort. And so then they get recognized for doing. And as an assistant principal, I make a lot of phone calls home to parents when their kids do something wrong. And so one of my favorite is when I get to make all the positive phone calls home and say, hey, your kid's right up. And they're like, oh, when you there's going to be something bad. And
Absolutely.
So it's fabulous when they can share the good news that their children are right things also. We also do welcomes, and I have a sign up sheet outside of my office, and students come and be the greeters. We have 4 hallways in our school, and we have 2 students at the top of each hallway greeting students as they come into the building each day. And then another thing that we do is we have our Pride team, and they serve as ambassadors. And so they are the ones who, if we have an event, they're the ones that we turn to first and say, hey, can you be the leaders? Can you show these parents? Or in the past, we've actually had educators come in our building, and we've shown all that stuff. And so they're doing that. We're trying to expand that. And so they are currently working on developing weekly lessons that we can use in the classrooms. And they are working on service learning projects at this time as well.
Wow, those are all great ideas. And I've been an assistant principal and gotten to make those phone calls home that are positive, and those are some of the best phone calls that you get to make. I know about those. So Principle 4 describes schools as caring communities where students and staff are respectful to and concerned about each other. Would you describe how Brookwood Middle School created and continues to sustain this caring community?
And so one of the things that we have our teachers do is communicate with the parents things at the beginning of the school year. Hey, I'm really excited to have your student in my class. And then they communicate throughout the year. We use in our district, we use school status.
Mhm.
They can make phone calls through school status, or they can make emails or text messages so that they can let them know what's going on in the classroom, let them know if, when their kids are doing something wrong, but also great. And then we also, now that the pandemic is sort of settling back down, we're able to include our parents again. And so at the middle school level, what we've noticed is parents kind of like kids start subdividing and get the parents involved through the extracurricular activities a lot. So last year, we did an art show, and it was online because we weren't allowed to do anything else last year. And
Yeah.
so we had parents who helped us develop that, and we showed off student artwork and actually sold some of the artwork. And we had community members who donated different items, that we auctioned off as well. We have parents who are involved with our dance program, with our band, our choir, with academic scholars, and of course athletics at the middle school. And so our coaches, our teachers, have set up their expectations for their students to go along with pride. So if you're going to be on the track team, the expectations for you on the track team line up with how you're expected to participate, be responsible, show integrity, be dedicated, and put forth effort. And so it's language that our parents understand. The way we came up with that was actually through our adopt-a-school partners, who are
Huh.
2 industries in the area. Um, and they helped us by talking through what they do with their employees. And so most of our students' parents are employed by these companies. And so they understand that language already.
I love that. You guys are doing a great job of reaching out to your community. That's excellent. And what about your faculty? How would you describe your faculty? Are they very close? Do they work well together? How do you continue to cultivate that within your building?
We have a unique faculty, in that a lot of our faculty are very young
Mhm.
currently. Um, and we have a fair number of teachers who are actually coming to us in non-traditional ways. And
Mm.
so they support each other, and they have that they bonded. I don't it's just unique. And we have, like I said, 4 hallways, and so our 8th grade team is really close, and our 7th grade teachers are really close, and our 6th grade teachers are really close, and then our elective teachers that are on the other hall, they all support each other. um, when we have new faculty join us, which unfortunately seems like it's every year, We start off the beginning of the school year teaching them what our core values are, and it actually starts in the interview process. Um,
Awesome.
and so we help them develop their classroom plans. We help them come up with ways that they can pull it into their lessons. And I mentioned earlier that we're an A+ school, and I think that's helped with that bonding for our teachers as well, because they all go to the training together, and so they have that time in the summer to come up to collaborate and come up with their different ideas. But one of the best things that I think we do is through their content areas, they're still teaching the core values.
Love
And
that. And
so,
for any of our, yeah, I love that. For any of our listeners that are not familiar with A plus, I'm going to put that in the show notes for everyone. But I do want to ask you, according to stopbullying.gov, bullying is the most frequently reported in grades 6 through 8. How does your school, what steps does your school take to prevent bullying and violence?
so in the past, we've really focused on trying to prevent bullying.
Mhm.
And what we noticed is that the more we talk about it, the more bullying there is.
Hmm.
And so we've kind of taken again a reverse approach in that we deal with it as it's brought to us,
Hmm.
more on an individualized basis. And a lot of the times what's reported is not actually bullying. We actually had a kid last week who came in and said, "I'm being bullied. Somebody is saying to me, um, so and so and so and so sitting in a tree, KISSING." And we're like, that's not bullying necessarily. That's not something that they should be doing, and so we address it there. But we go through the steps with them. You've got to report it so that we know about it.
Hmm.
Then we address it with the other student, and we never go back to the other student and say, "Hey, so and so told us."
Hmm.
We an adult has reported that they heard this or they saw this, and you have this opportunity to stop. And we let the other student know, if it doesn't stop, you come back to us immediately. And we've had very few instances where students have had to come back to us a second time.
Hmm.
And I think some of that is just the community that we live in,
Hmm.
and they understand that, things can't go on. But in the world today, we are so blessed that we don't have a large amount of bullying going on,
Hmm.
especially when you look at social media. And we've had very few instances where social media has run amok. I do tell all of my parents and my students, sixth grade and social media don't mix,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Well,
to try and cut back on some of that.
sure, but you also have to credit your caring community that you've all created and continue to emphasize, wouldn't you say?
I absolutely, and it is a team effort. It is the teacher seeing it and stopping it before it ever gets out of hand.
Hmm.
It is the reporting to the parents and getting them to help out. It takes a community.
Sure, excellent. Well, would you share with our listeners how do you assess a caring community? Maybe you could describe this process so that others could learn from you how to evaluate their own schools' cultures.
And so one of the things that we use is Microsoft Forms. We set up questions that we put out, and we ask parents to complete the questionnaires. We've asked students to complete them. How are we doing on this? What are the issues? Kind of a climate control
Hmm.
survey. And we've used forms that we've gotten from the Hope Institute through Sanford to create those. And then we've tweaked them along the way here or there. How are we doing on meeting the expectations of our community?
Yeah, sure. Well, as we wrap up today's conversation, do you have a book or a podcast recommendation to share with our listeners that you have found to be impactful on your character education journey?
I personally go to character.org a lot, and
Hmm.
I'm registered for the Character Daily
Hmm.
newsletter that they send out. We have used Seven Habits for Teens in the past where we've had groups, and we've taught them how to approach things with the end in mind, basically. I've also used building an intentional school culture, while we create this thing that we call our mini community, because we are representative of the community that we live in. And again, the most amazing thing to me is how our teachers implement it, because especially our English department, whenever they are teaching a novel, they're pulling through those ideas, the core values that we focus on: participation, responsibility, integrity, dedication, and effort. And so they're pulling those out as the students are reading the novel, so that it's not just this idea. It's, hey, that exists in books, and hey, that exists in science, and it's everywhere. And so we're pulling from real life, on a daily basis.
Well, I'll be sure to share that list in our show notes for our listeners. I know that you have made some great recommendations today, and our listeners may want to reach out to you for more information about what we discussed today. What are the best ways for the listeners to engage with you, Susan?
I am on Twitter, at Susan Gossett, or we are on Twitter, and I haven't done a lot of it lately, is at Brookwood TCSS. And then we also have our Facebook page where I share a lot of information and a lot of the things that we're doing at Brookwood Middle. Facebook page is at Brookwood Middle TCSS.
Great. And I will definitely share all of those connections for our listeners. And I just want to thank you again for being here today. I want to again congratulate you and your school on being named a state school of character, and not just for the recognition, but it shows the daily commitment that is being made to having a community of character at Brookwood Middle School. And to all of our listeners who are still with us, thank you for being here. We hope you got some ideas and takeaways from today's episode. And we would love for you to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. Thanks again, everyone. Take care.